Shalom, everybody. This is Nizama Shaha Medabar Yasharal with my channel, Nizama the Hebrew Mystic Healer. I'd like to, as always, give a quick shout out to my 3D kin, the 12 tribes of Israel scattered to the four corners of the earth. Shalom, guys. And I'd also like to quickly give a shout out to my cosmic kin, scattered to the 12 dimensions of this universal cosmic egg. Also, thank you and much appreciation to those who are watching this video and those who are subscribed with me. If you haven't hit the notification bell, please do so, because I may be doing some live videos soon, and that way you can be informed and in the loop. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. This video is going to be my part 2 to the Kabbalah, an ancient Hebraic breakdown. Now, to be honest, I originally wanted to do this video with pictures and visualizations, much like how I did all my videos when I first started this channel. However, unfortunately, I was having some issues uploading it today from iMovie. So in this case, I'm just going to embrace the fact that it's meant to be done for my highest good, according to my divine self and the path that I've chosen today, that this particular video will be done better with a recorded person, you know, I'm looking at you, you're looking at me type video. So I will go ahead and periodically refer to one particular sephiroth Kabbalah image, but I'm not going to be like doing a whole back and forth constantly with visuals. So I just want to give you guys a heads up. Now this one is going to be a little more in depth. I'm going to focus on primarily the character traits associated with each sephiroth sphere and the chakra association. And also I will throw out some quick scriptural references. I will try to add some at the drop-down menu too, if you wanted some kind of a visual to go along with this. But primarily this is about the representation of these character traits or these emanations out from the one source mind consciousness that we all go back to, and how this happens in each sphere of the tree, and how we embody this tree within us, and how we are a representation and an image of that source mind in the flesh based on this whole description. Keep in mind, the Kabbalah is a model. It is a depiction, guidepost, if you will, to help our understanding so we have a visual. This is not to be taken super, super literal. At the end of the day, yes, the wisdom is on point. Yes, the breakdown helps us, but this is just a tool. It's a model. So I just want to make that clear. So there's no reason to get all excited. There's no reason to freak out, lash out. Let's all be sovereign adults with this. If you don't agree with the video, if you don't agree with the breakdown, totally cool. This is my personal, you know, my own personal view of it and how I would like to explain it. And so if that doesn't resonate with you, that's totally cool. There are plenty of videos out there on the Kabbalah. This one in particular, I'm doing on the Hebraic model, and that being the primary focus. But if you would prefer some other type of Kabbalistic teaching video, there are a lot out there. So let's go ahead and get started. Now I'm going to go ahead, and it looks like I can't flip the camera here, at least I don't know how. I'm doing the recording that you do when you click on your channel. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this around, and there it is. That is the Kabbalah image. Now on the very top, if you look, that is Katar, at least enunciated in the Paleo Hebrew. Now Katar is associated with the I am principle, or Ahayaha, or the Crown Chakra. Now the Crown Chakra is located about right here, just above the top of your head. And what the Katar represents is the first emanation of the Aeon Self out in that whole I am, I exist, I'm here. This is my divine identity. So that's what the Katar, the I am, the Ahayaha is. That's what the Crown Chakra also represents. When somebody embodies this sphere, they know who they are within. They understand their divine connection to source, and they understand their higher divine self, like as a unique blueprint going back to source. So I just wanted to make that clear as well. Now, scriptures associated with the crown or the Katar or the I am. First of all, the most common one is Exodus chapter 3, when Moses talks to the allegory of the burning bush, which represents him talking to this particular principle emanation of the source mind and also from within himself. So in other words, he's talking to his higher self. He's talking to his divine self. And he's also talking to this particular emanation of source itself, emanated out from within and without. Also, you can see this reference in the scriptures in the so-called New Testament when Yeshaya talks about don't let any man take your crown. The crown is that representative of that divine knowing, that divine royalty. A lot of times it's shown with in many depictions as solar rays, so it's just that whole inner and understanding that we are divine at our core and that we all go back to that. So that's what the Katar basically stands for. So moving on down, and I'm going to go right to left in this particular video. So now, if you see, I hope you guys can see clearly. I'm trying the best I can here. To the right, just below Katar, is Chakmah. Now, Chakmah is wisdom. This is associated with the third eye chakra in the Vedic teachings. And this is associated to the inner divine wisdom, which leads us to the knowing of I am, or our divine nature. So somebody that embodies this will be somebody that has a lot of divine wisdom from within. And this will, like I said, lead them to that knowing of that connection back to the crown of the Crown Chakra. Now, I want to kind of point out that in the Kabbalah specifically, this is actually considered a masculine principle. Now, Katar is masculine. I forgot to mention that. But what's interesting is in the Hebraic scriptures, specifically in Proverbs or Ecclesiasticus, wisdom is actually amorphized as a feminine polarity. But in the Kabbalah, wisdom is considered a masculine polarity, and Binah, which is to the left of that, left being associated with the feminine principle, Binah is the one that's actually feminine, which means understanding. Now, they're both linked to the third eye, and they both go hand in hand. But I just kind of wanted to point that out there, and I find it to be interesting. Now, as I said before, don't get caught up on, oh, well, this is masculine or this is feminine, because really it all goes back to the source, to the source creator. So we all, to some extent, embody the feminine and masculine polarities. It's just we either come here in the physical avatar of the flesh as female, or we come here in the physical avatar of the flesh as male. That's really the only distinction there. So whether wisdom is shown as a feminine polarity, which is really in most cultures considered more receptive, or the masculine polarity, which in most cultures is considered more projective, either way, it really doesn't matter. It's just using these representations to explain an esoteric spiritual concept. So I just kind of wanted to make that clear, just in case any of you are hung up on that. Now, as far as the scriptural references to wisdom, we can see them all over. As I said before, they're usually associated with the feminine polarity or wisdom being a she. But one interesting thing is in Proverbs, it actually talks about, and I believe in Psalms, that wisdom was actually with they say the Most High, but to take it as with the source creator in the beginning, the first creator. In other words, the first that came out of the I am, or the first that really came out saying, I am beside, and I am, right next to the crown. I'm right next to the throne. And so that's the throne of the source creator, would be the crown also represents it as well. So I just want to kind of point that out. Now, wisdom is also talked about as being more precious than rubies, as abiding in the tents of Jacob, in the dwelling place of Jacob. And so these are some scriptural references, that relate to wisdom. Now, wisdom, particularly in Proverbs again, is commonly found hand in hand with understanding. It'll say, oh, they possess wisdom and understanding, both come from the Lord and are of God. Well, that's because on the Kabbalah, they're quite literally right next to each other. As you can see here to the left, representing the feminine aspect, left feminine, right masculine, is Binah, or understanding. Now, also relating to the third chakra, the third eye chakra, right here, when somebody is embodied in the Binah aspect or polarity of the third eye chakra, they are going to embody the understanding. So first comes wisdom, then comes understanding. So when you have wisdom, you then understand. And so when you understand, again, all three of these link leading right back up to source or to our own divine knowing. So again, there are scriptures in Proverbs and throughout the Bible that talk about wisdom and understanding, but that's what that sephiroth sphere represents. And somebody who embodies that is going to have a lot of understanding of divine wisdom, of divine things. So I just kind of wanted to put that out there. So moving on down right here. Now I'm going to talk about a lesser known, or at least lesser known or lesser discussed sephiroth sphere, and that's Daath. Now, Daath would technically be considered the 11th sphere, and it's not really talked about, and it's almost considered just hidden in there because it represents the hidden, it represents the void. It's right there in the middle, so it's not really polarized. It represents it's not polarized to male or female, although it would tend to be more of a feminine principle representing the cosmic womb or the void or the potential, but it really just represents the hidden, the unknown potential, the hidden and unknown creative potential. Also, there are scriptures throughout the Old Testament that talk about, in this case, they use the title Most High, which isn't really related to source specifically, but if we look at that allegorically, that would represent, it says like the Most High abides in the darkness, the Most High, came from the darkness. If we looked at it as an esoteric representation, we understand that during the time of creation, everything began in darkness, and from the darkness emanated out the formation of light, because the material form in the material universe and even the higher dimensions of the formation of the universe comes down to light, sound, and vibration, or those three principles, which also link back to Katar, Chakmah, and Binah, or the principles of creation and destruction in that whole quote-unquote triune idea, going back to the first video I did. However, I digress. With Daath really represents that access point going back to source directly, surpassing everything. It is the whole going into the unknown, going into the darkness of thyself to pull out the inner light. So I just wanted to touch on Daath. I feel like it's a very important sphere, but it gets overlooked a lot, and I felt it was important to touch on it. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one. So to the right, just below Daath, is Chesed. So Chesed represents mercy, and this is related to the throat chakra, which is right here. And I've been forgetting to talk about the colors. I was so used to using visuals. I'm so sorry, you guys. I had the visuals on initially, and so let me go back on that. The crown is either depicted as violet or like a pure white light, or when the kundalini or the inner awakening happens, it actually comes out as the Buddhists would call it 1,000-petal lotus. It's all different types of rainbow light. Speaking from experience, when I had my Kundalini awakening, that is exactly what happened, at least for me. So that's what the crown looks like. Right here in the third eye is generally depicted as an indigo color, which is like a dark purplish blue. And the throat chakra is a light blue, not quite a turquoise, but like a more light, almost sky blue or a bright blue. Now, the throat chakra is responsible for communication. And likewise with the sphere, Chesed. Now, this is dealing with mercy, but this is dealing with mercy in the sense of action or the spoken word or merciful ears. So somebody that embodies this particular character trait of source is going to be very merciful in their speech, very merciful in their action, very merciful in their ears. They're not going to want to speak evil or hear evil. So that is really what that symbolizes. Now, this is on the masculine side of things. So again, that whole unique thing, excuse me, guys, that whole uniqueness of, in this case with the Kabbalah, it's almost an inversion where the masculine is more receptive and the feminine is more active. Because when we think of traits of mercy, I think most of us might tend to lean toward the feminine. But yet again, both of these polarities are in all of us, and they go back to the one. We each have these. In this case, this is masculine. Now, if you go to the opposite side of the sephiroth tree, we have, I hope you guys can see it here, Gawara. Now, Gawara refers to truth and justice. So Gawara, whereas like Chisad would represent the scriptures that talk about mercy and not speaking evil and ears wanting to hear mercy and things of that sort. And I will add those scriptures below. Now, Gawara, on the other hand, represents the truth or the judgments of source or the universal laws or Torah in this case, when we're looking at in the Hebraic esoteric perspective. So somebody who embodies this particular sphere is going to speak their truth. And in a more literal or historical context, this could be represented in the scriptures as the prophets, spare not, cry aloud, speak the truth. Do not tell the people smooth things to deceive them. Tell them truth, regardless of how harsh it is. So somebody that is totally activated in this chakra point or these two spheres together in balance would embody that perfect balance between speaking truth, but not speaking truth to poison or to, there's a difference between speaking truth and being aggressive and intentionally hurtful, right? So it's okay to speak truth, but we don't want to do it to intentionally hurt anybody. So there's that balance between truth and mercy. And so somebody that embodies both of these spheres together at that one center chakra point is going to have that balance of mercy and justice. And this will come out in their life and their actions too, not just the spoken word. But this deals more with the actions of coming out from the character, rather than a physical application of force or will, which we'll talk about later. It goes later on in the sephiroth tree. So let's now jump down to Sephiroth. Now, Sephiroth is neither masculine or feminine polarity. It's in the middle, and it's also quite literally in the middle of the tree. So it represents the heart chakra found here, which in its more basic awakening sense is green, like the color of my head wrap here. Now, the heart chakra represents the feeling and the compassion and the connection to each other or a fellow man. And Sephiroth also represents the beauty or the splendor of mankind's connection with the divine and that whole as above, so below respect. So somebody that embodies Sephiroth will be a very exemplary example of a human being, very balanced, very much speaking and doing and acting out of the heart center. In fact, when that heart center is aligned, the throat will be aligned, the third eye will be aligned, so on and so forth. So all of these things will line up together. So I just kind of wanted to put that out there. So that is what somebody who embodies Sephiroth will be like. So this represents the love, basically, and that middle point between our higher selves or our divine selves and our lower selves or our material selves, okay? Also, in some renditions, this will represent the quote-unquote Christ consciousness as well. So we'll talk more about that maybe in the next video. So moving on down. So if you look to the right, you will see the next sphere going down is Nasach. Now, Nazak means victory. And what this is talking about is this is talking about more in sense of a physical victory, but it can also represent spiritual victory as well. Now, Nazak is aligned to the Vedic understanding of the solar plexus, which is yellow. It's kind of associated with the sun or the inner sun and be found right here in the center, right in the belly button region. So this particular area represents victory. So victory in battle, victory in our own, spiritual growth, just victory in general. So someone who embodies this particular sphere is going to come out victorious. They're very good at pulling out from their will. They're very good at enforcing their will in a very, I don't want to say domineering, but they're just good at bringing out their inner will. They know what they want and they bring it out and they make it known. So somebody who embodies that will be very connected to the divine will without or going back to source, but also within. So this is on the masculine side. Now on the feminine side here, still linked to the same solar plexus chakra, we have, oops, sorry guys, I hope you can see that. We have Hod. I hope you guys can see this. Now Hod is the feminine aspect of that. And ironically, it's almost like we're going back and forth here, but when it comes to this one, Hod actually is more receptive, at least in my definition, and it represents majesty or knowing, or just knowing that you are majestic, knowing that you are victorious, having that inner knowing. So someone who embodies that will usually also embody Nasak, or the victory. So when those are balanced together, those two polarities come together and are balanced, that person will know that they are majestic, and therefore they will be victorious in the physical realm. And scripture's referring to this as anytime, Israel was victorious, anytime the Most High was victorious in the scriptures, that would represent that particular sephiroth sphere. So going down, I hope you guys can see this. The next is Yesod. Now, Yesod means foundation. This is represented in the Vedic understanding of the sacral chakra, which is orange, and it's found just below the belly button region and just below the pubic bone. Now, this particular placement deals with the foundation, or the pillars, or what holds everything up, but it's also responsible for creativity, spiritual energy, creative energy, sexual energy. That is what the sacral region and the Yesod aspect are about. It's about upholding that whole creative respect in order for you to bring forth through will. Okay? So somebody that embodies Yesod is very creative. They really embody the creative aspect, which is really the basic component of what it means to be source creator, right? What it means to embody that or be a representative or image of that in the flesh is to create. So somebody that embodies this sphere will be very creative. They can create easily. And usually this will manifest in the physical realm, which links down to the next one. And by the way, the scriptures regarding Yesod is anything to do with creation, whether it's the Most High doing it or rather it's the people doing it. Okay? So let's get to the last one. The last one on here, I don't know if you guys can see it. I'm so sorry if you can't. The last one is on the very bottom of the tree, is called Malkoff. Now, Malkoff is the kingdom of earth. So this quite literally represents the physical plane of existence, or God on earth, or us as the Atman, or the divine soul, experiencing, basically it goes back to the source mind, one, experiencing through us in the physical world. So it literally means God on earth. We are the God on earth. So that's what this really represents. So this is linked to, in the Vedic wisdom, the root chakra, which is red. It's typically found just under the genital region, but above the feet. And this is related to, again, the physical world, being on earth, the lower self or the material self. But somebody who embodies this sphere will usually be very grounded, and they will be very good at manifesting in the physical realm. So this could be spiritual, or it could be quite literally physical. Usually it's physical. But even though this may seem to be on the total opposite end of the spectrum compared to the higher self or the divine self or the I am or the Katar, one must first be grounded in the root, or have strong roots, much like a tree, because that's what the sephiroth is. It represents our tree of life, our DNA, our cosmic blueprint. If someone has strong roots, then they're going to have a strong trunk. If they have strong trunk, then they're going to have strong branches. If they have strong branches, they're going to bear sweet fruit. So that is really the whole allegory there. So that's basically what it means. So I hope that helps explain everything for you guys. Scriptures dealing with Malkoff would have to deal with the physical kingdom of Israel. It would have to do with roots, going back to the Most High in Scripture, or being rooted in the Most High in Scripture. These are all scriptural references to that particular wisdom or allegory. So that about wraps it up for my video for today. I hope that was informative for you guys. Again, I'm really sorry that I was unable to do the visual cues, but I hope that this covers everything. If you guys have any questions, please try to hold your questions until the last video, because I'm probably going to do 2 more videos. And then if you still have questions, then feel free to ask and I'll answer them to the best of my ability. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you have a beautiful day. Take care, shalom, and like I said, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and hit the bell, okay? Take care.